When your parent gets admitted to the hospital, you are officially on the clock. Those first 48 hours can be an emotional, stressful, bureaucratic nightmare, especially if you're not prepared. During this time, 4 specific decisions can have a major impact on whether they recover safely, how much the bill will be, and how informed you'll get to be throughout the whole process. By watching this video, you'll learn exactly which doctor to look for first, the major medical hazard that most families completely miss, and why you ought to start planning your parents' exit the moment they arrive. As a bonus, I'm also going to show you a hidden billing trap. Did you know that just because your parent is in a hospital bed, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're admitted, and this one little technicality could force you to pay for their entire rehab out of pocket. So stick around, because missing that one single detail could cost your family thousands. So let's dive in. By the way, if you're new here, I'm Ethan Carbo, and I love helping families learn about caregiving. The goal for this channel is to help you by giving you good information so that you can make good decisions for your family. Okay, starting off, if you're anything like me, when you first get to a hospital, your initial instinct is to look for anyone in scrubs or anyone who looks official and ask them for the big picture update of what's going on with your parent. Now, this will put you in contact with one of 2 categories of people, either nurses or specialists. If you end up talking to a specialist like a cardiologist, they can only be so helpful. They can really only give you good information about one specific thing that they're a specialist in. So if it's a cardiologist, they can tell you everything in the world about your parent's heart, but beyond that, they won't be super helpful. If you end up talking to a nurse, they have a lot of information, but legally they aren't allowed to diagnose anything. So if you ask them for the big picture, they'll be able to give you lots of broad general information about stuff that you probably already know. So if the majority of the people that you'll encounter on the hospital floor are nurses and specialists, and they can't get you the information that you need, who can you go to? Well, really, there's only one person who has all the information about your parents' care, and that's the hospitalist. The hospitalist is an internal medicine doctor who's been assigned to oversee your parents' care from the moment that they arrive until the moment that they are discharged. So they know everything that there is to know about your parents' case. Now, I don't know any hospitalists personally, but I did some research and I learned that most of them only do their rounds once per day and typically in the morning. So that's why it's really important to try to be available during the times where their hospitalist is doing their rounds. Because if you miss them, you miss the chance to get all the information that you need. So that's why I recommend that as soon as you get to the hospital, one of the very first things that you do is talk to the admissions people, talk to the nurses, and try to get an idea of when the hospitalist typically does their rounds so that you can be available for them and try to find a way that you can talk to them. Once you get a hold of them, your job is pretty simple. Regardless of your situation, all you have to do is ask 3 questions to help you form a strategic plan. The first question is, what is the primary medical milestone that my parent needs to reach in order to be considered safe to discharge? Now, this is helpful for you because it gives you a mental framework for what the hospital is actually trying to do for your parent. It also means that you're able to keep the hospital accountable. If they start getting antsy and want to clear their bed before your parent is safe to leave, then you can just point to what the hospital has said. The second question is, are there any secondary issues that are complicating the recovery time? Now, the good thing about a hospitalist is that they are a generalist, meaning that they know a lot of different types of medicine. So they can tell you if a hip fracture is developing into an infection or if a different condition that your parent has is affecting the recovery time at all. So it's in your best interest to know the big picture of everything that's going on, not just an update on the one specific thing that your parent was admitted for. And finally, based on my parents' current baseline, do you think that they'll be required to go to rehab? If the answer is yes, then you are officially on the clock. You've got to start looking for nursing facilities. Try to find some good ones in your local area. Now, we'll talk about this in just a second, but for now, just know that the doctor's opinion on whether your parent needs to go to rehab or not is really important for you to know early on in the process. Here's a not so fun fact. The number 1 cause of hospital-induced harm is medication errors during a transition of care. Now, with the advancement of software, I'd like to imagine that your parents' primary doctor's system would sync up perfectly with the hospital system as soon as they arrive. But unfortunately, this just isn't the case a lot of the time. It's definitely not unheard of for a hospital's record system to miss a daily maintenance drug or to prescribe a standard hospital medication that interacts harmfully or even fatally with an over-the-counter drug that your parent has been taking at home. So to make sure that one of these errors doesn't happen to your parent, you or your parent's primary caregiver need to have an updated physical list of all of the prescribed medications, over-the-counter supplements, their dosages, and the names of the prescribing physicians on hand that you can have and give to a nurse in the case of an emergency. By taking on that responsibility yourself, you are taking the chance of an error out of the hands of a system that's managing thousands of patients and putting it into your hands as the one person in that hospital who cares more about your parents' individual care than anyone else. To help you out, I made a sheet that you can fill out for your parent. Now, it's free, it's easy to use, and it's in the description below. All you have to do is click the link and then fill it out and then print it or print it out and do it by hand. Everything on that website is totally local to your computer, so I can't see it or track what you're writing or anything sketchy like that. I just wanted to make a useful tool for you as you do the tireless work of making sure that your parent is safe, and that's worth celebrating. So if I can help in a little way, then that's so cool. All right, so let's zoom out for a second. If your parent had a severe injury that landed them in the hospital, like a stroke or a complicated fall, then they probably can't go straight home afterwards. Instead, likely they'll need to go to a rehab facility for some amount of time. Now, if that's the case, it may sound crazy to start thinking about your parent's exit as soon as they get to the hospital, which is why most families wait until a doctor orders a discharge for them to start looking for a rehab facility. The problem with this is that there's a lot of facilities out there, and a lot of the good ones are running at capacity. So if you wait until the doctor orders a discharge, your parent might not get in. And then the case manager, their one job is to get that bed cleared. So they don't really care where your parent goes. So they'll just put your parent in whatever facility is available and has a bed ready for your parent, regardless of its rating or reputation. So what I recommend is on day one, after you get your parent settled in their room and all the initial stuff taken care of, go introduce yourself to the case manager. See if they'll help you get a list of all of the contracted Medicare-approved rehab facilities in your local area so that you can start vetting them. Once you get that list, ask the case manager for their recommendation. If it were their mom, where would they go first? Most of the case managers know all the dark, dirty secrets of the local areas, so they can probably point you in the right direction. And do your own research as well. Check ratings, check reviews, and see if you can come up with a list of your top 3 options. Once you have that list, go back to the case manager, show them the options, and just ask them, if my parent ends up needing to go to rehab, can you recommend that they go to one of these facilities? Okay, this last section is about billing, and it could be a huge money saver for you. In fact, if you avoid this one pitfall, it could save your parents thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars. Here's how it works. When your parent is admitted to the hospital, they are in a hospital gown, they're eating hospital food, they're sleeping in a hospital bed. So the natural thing is to assume that they've been admitted. The strange thing is that they might actually not be. They might be in something called observation status. Okay, so why does any of this matter? Well, it actually matters a lot, because traditional Medicare requires 3 consecutive inpatient midnights in order for it to pay for any sort of post-hospital rehab. An emphasis on inpatient there. Observation days don't count. I'm actually writing a book about these exact kinds of traps, and I have an entire chapter dedicated to just the 3 midnight rule because of how devastating it can be for families. That's because if your parent is in the hospital and they spend 3 nights there and they end up needing rehab, but those 3 nights were observation status and they end up going to rehab, guess who's paying for that? It's not Medicare. They're going to be paying $0 for it. So it's all going to have to come out of pocket, which is huge money. There's a lot more to say about why this happens, and I go over all that in the book. But for now, to steward your time well and to keep things short, all you need to do is add 1 question to the list of questions that you ask the hospitalist every day. What is my parent's official admission status? Now, if they are under observation status, you need to ask the doctor to formally admit them based on medical necessity. Now, they can't just do this on a whim, but they can listen to reason. So if you know something about your parent's condition and why they should be officially admitted, then let the doctor know. Basically, it comes down to if you think that your parent is going to need rehab, or if the hospitalist tells you that they are going to need rehab, I can't stress enough that you need to find a way to get them officially admitted. That way you can start counting those midnights and make sure that Medicare will actually pay for it. Okay, that's all I have for today. I know that that was a lot. Hospital stuff is so stressful. I don't like it just as much as you, but it is so good that you are taking an interest and investing in taking care of your parents. That is so good. It's enough. You're doing awesome. And that's all. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Ethan Carbo, and I'll see you in the next one.